Oi, this is the Profanity Gnome, and I'm here to tell you that if you're under 13 years old, fuck off this video! Get the fuck off YouTube! Get your mama to get your dad's cock out of her ears and actually be a parent! This is for adults only! And for everybody else, enjoy the video. And don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below what you think, you fuck buckets! Wow. That is a really big wall.
The Great Wall of Disney, said to keep all invading forces out. Though there are some who believe it's meant to keep all the franchises they purchase in.
Glad they're more lenient on their TV shows or we'd never get in.
Land ho, portside! And now begins our adventures in Ducktales!
Episode 3. Well, first a little backstory. During the early days of when I used to review My Little Pony, I took a break from it in order to review a bunch of other random stuff to test the waters to see how you guys like it. And when I reviewed Ducktales, it was the highest graded show of anything I reviewed during that time. Even I gave the show very high praise, and that is no small feat on this channel. But I was never able to go back to it because of other random shows that I would reviewed at the time, and new seasons and reboots and all that other jazz. But now that all that is done, I can finally get back to it. Even though I'm almost finished with the first season of Kulapari, I only got like 3 episodes left, and it's become somewhat of a running joke with me that I'm never getting around to it. I reviewed DuckTales first, and it's been shelved for much longer. And it's completed. So, does my praise hold up? Or does it dwindle and decline like so many other shows and reboots in the past decade? Let's find out with the Daytrip of Doom. The episode begins on a typical morning on the house of Scrooge McDuck. He wakes up to view the love of his life, his money bin, when he's approached by his caretaker, Mrs. Beakley, who seems to be having an off day. They come to discover why, as the boys are having a big game of war in his house, and Scrooge doesn't seem to particularly mind, even encouraging. But during the games, one player in particular takes it way too seriously, in the form of Webby Vanderquack. It's like watching a bunch of drunk hillbillies go up against a member of SEAL Team 6. She goes for blood. I like this version of Webby. Well, Mrs. Beakley brings up some genuine concerns about house rules and boundaries with his family living there, but Scrooge says kids will be kids and they all gotta make sacrifices for the sake of, well, their new living situation. That is, until Scrooge is mildly inconvenienced. Then it's no hold bars. Hey, look, I can see other fandoms from here.
That's pretty unusual.
It's not as unusual around here than you think. Disney has a pretty big brother is watching you policy. Speaking of which.
Uh-oh.
Meow.
So a house meeting is called in order for Scrooge McDuck to lay the ground rules.
Which, to be fair, there isn't a lot. He's happy to have them as long as it doesn't inconvenience him in any way. In other words, not getting in the way of the routine.
But then Mrs. Beakley lays down the law on all the house rules. Her rules. But, of course, Donald is defiant to these rules, and there's a bit of an argument, and a bit of tension between the two. Just kiss!
So while Donald and Mrs. Beakley have their face-off, the boys and Webby decide to go to Funzo's. I guess it's their world's version of Chuck E. Cheese's. The boys are super excited, but then Dewey asks Webby if she wants to go. And the other two are a little bit hesitant on whether or not Webby would be able to handle this, as she literally jumps out of an open window. So as Mrs. Beakley tries to insert authority while Donald's free spirit continuously argues with her,
Just kiss!
the boys and Webby go to the bus station in order to get a bus to Funzo's. They'll tell Webby to just simply act normal and don't do anything Webby, and she agrees, only to immediately break that promise on the bus while being constantly a nuisance, trying to lick poles, and doing some pretty ironic reading, and annoys everyone to the point where they all get thrown off the bus. And to make things worse, they're thrown off the bus in a very sketchy part of town.
Are they playing hopscotch on a corpse?
So they manage to find their way to go to Funzo's, only to pass by a very familiar set of boys, the Beagle Boys, who see a cash payday. What is that, Deadbeard?
Docking fees. These little franchises always try to scam every last cent out of you, and oh my God, this is outrageous! There's no way I'm paying this! This is highway robbery! Oh, for Dad's sakes, just pay the guys so we can get on with our day!
So the boys manage to actually make it to Funzo's, and it is exactly how you would imagine it. A pretty crappy ball play area. Chuck E. Cheese establishment. And so, before Webby can do anything, Louie tries to show her the ropes on how the environment works in Funzo's. But when Webby tries her best to work with it, she immediately fails.
Although it could have been a lot worse. I'm pretty sure she was going to kill that guy.
So after cutting quickly once again to Mrs. Beakley and Donald fighting each other,
just kiss!
We also do a quick jump to the Beagle Boys, as they attempt to do something that would totally have fooled the 1980s version of this show, but wouldn't work by today's standards. So they beat up the Funzo guy and steal his costume.
We go back to Dewey as she's trying to teach Webby how to play Guitar Hero, or their version of it. And Webby actually does pretty well, until flight or fight instincts kick in against the Beagle Boys in a costume, and during the scuffle unplugs the machine and erases all of Dewey's high scores.
And then we cut back, once again, to Donald's boat going up in flames, as Mrs. Beakley personifies the feeling of wanting to watch the world burn.
Just fucking kiss!
Well, Webby is feeling pretty down, but the boys are still there for her. They know it's not her fault. She was raised in a sheltered child, so she doesn't understand. But things go from bad to worse as the ball pit sucks her in, and she immediately goes for a grappling hook option, which results in a cartoonish burning down the establishment, and an awkward hello, getting them all a permanent ban from Funzo's. But that's unfortunately the least of their worries.
It is here we are introduced to one of the most heartless, most cruel, most evil creatures to ever come from the Disney Afternoon universe, and has a special place in hell just for her. A Karen. Well, she kinda is. A single mother. What? She's Mama Beagle.
What's the difference? Home sweet tower.
Though I'm not entirely sure how long we can stay here. You know, I'm starting to think we need to scope out the area before we build the tower. Well, Mama Beagle ain't too happy. When are Karens ever happy? As the boys not only kidnapped a bunch of children, but have contacted the most powerful duck in the world, telling them that they did, and she practically loses it all right there. Yeah, but she never had much to lose to begin with. Well, now she's got her life to lose, as they now have to turn Funzo's into a fortress, while she punishes her third child for coming up with such a stupid plan to begin with. You don't get to be as powerful and rich as Scrooge McDuck by following the rules.
Well, Donald gets the note first and tries to get Scrooge's help, but he's currently relaxing, so he goes to the next best thing, Mrs. Beakley, who is so honored that Donald was finally willing to put aside his pride and ask for help until she learns the actual severity of the situation.
Would you just fuck already?
Well, the Beagles boys are about to take his anger out on Huey, Dewey, and Louie when Webby saves them at the drop of a hat and then proceeds to try to tie herself back up. The boys are actually just shocked that she was able to escape so easily, but, you know, she's kind of lived in the McDuck manor long enough to know that untying yourself from rope is like Capture 101. In this situation, the boys say they don't want her to be normal, they want her to be Webby. And Webby normal can get them out of this situation. And so, she dons her SEAL Team 6 glasses again and breaks them out. Meanwhile, Ma Beagle is instructing her boys to guard the fortress when she gets a note saying that her own son has been captured. And so she goes in to deal with them as the Beagles go to deal with the only force stronger than a Karen. A British woman? No. You should know this. A Navy SEAL officer who had his kids threatened. Oh yeah, Donald goes completely apeshit on the Beagle boys. I'm particularly proud of this screenshot, as he goes completely apeshit on them, as Mrs. Beakley isn't really needed in this fight, but she joins in anyway to bring the hurt. No one messes with her Webby. But while the Beagle boys are dealing with the stuff outside, Mama Beagle is trying to capture the kids again, only to be slowly lured into a trap set up by Webby. And she falls victim to the vol pit and gets captured. And just as Mrs. Beakley and Donald break in, the kids already have everything wrapped up. Simple as pie. So the boys get their lifetime ban from Funzos revoked because they were kidnapped, technically, on their premises and they could sue. Mrs. Beakley and Donald put aside their differences and start working together, and the boys and Webby finally accept each other and the fact that they make a pretty damn good team. Until it starts getting competitive between them. Then everybody's on Webby's team. And that was Ducktales, Daytrip of Doom. How was the episode?
Well, it definitely showcased the new family dynamic that they're going to have, even though Scrooge was kind of put on the back burner this episode.
He didn't really need to play a part, though. This was mostly an episode between Donald and Mrs. Beakley, as well as the kids adjusting to having a new kid sister.
Is she really a kid sister?
She's close enough. Any rate.
It was also a good debut episode for the Beagles. Both the Beagle Boys and Beagle Mama, as well as introducing a new fun location for them all to go at, Funzos.
It's also nice to see the setup to see that there's some kinks to work out in their relationships with each other, not only with the kids, but with the adults and the new power dynamics. Yeah, Mrs. Beakley and Donald get along now, but what about in the future? And Webby normal is still controversial to Huey, Dewey, and Louie's normal. But in the same breath, Webby is way too useful with Webby normal to have her change to normal. And with their life, they could use a little bit more Webby normal than normal. I would say that's normal logic. So regardless, it's a good starting episode to what will come in the future. And it's definitely worth the praise I gave it all those many years ago. So with that being said, we're the Cartoon Gentlemen.
Was it really years ago?
The Organizers of Chaos? Yeah. And by popular vote, Organizers of Chaos did win, so from now on we'll just say Organizers of Chaos. So, see you next time!
It's kind of hard to believe it's been years since we've been here.
You know, we've been to some pretty crazy and toxic fandoms so far, but from what I've seen, this one's pretty wholesome. Meow. What ye see? Guys, we be having problems starboard side!
Oh no.